Oh, hey. I didn't see you there. This is my new jacket. My wife got me it for Christmas. It has cherry blossoms on the back. This is my new favorite jacket. Honestly, my wife is the best gift giver of all time. Anyways, hope you guys had a fantastic Christmas holiday, New Year, part of your lifetime. Mine was great, honestly. The Magneto X had some has had a facelift, and that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about it today. We need to move this huge hog into a little hole. And so I have some extra things that we have to do first to be able to fit it into this disgustingly tight hole space. I should just use the word space that we have on the shelves here. And spoiler alert, it actually fits really good, and I am very happy with my purchase. So let's jump into it. Welcome back to the Nerd Armory. My name is Miles, and today we are going to be moving our Peopoly Magneto X and doing a few little upgrades to it that it needs, because while we're here, we may as well. And yeah, enjoy the vid. All right, so essentially here's the space that we're trying to fit this Magneto X into. You'll see that I have these risers on my Bambu that stick out just enough that where if they're slammed together, which you don't want, this is the gap between them. We can make that smaller. Like, we need to do that, because see right here, this piece of wood is the width of the Magneto X. Do you see how I have like 2 millimeters? So we need to basically make some new risers, and because I just need it to be exactly how I need them to be, I'm just going to make them. So I take my original Fusion 360 file of the risers that I made, and we're just going to make our own sleek, profiled type design here. We have some dovetail connectors. We initially don't get the dimensions quite right. Like, the dimensions online for the glass, I feel like, are not exactly precise. So we do have to do a little bit of tweaks and edits. But we managed to do it. We throw it into the slicer. Now here, what I'm doing is I'm taking it, and you never just want to print it off. Like, you want to double check that it works correctly, especially all your tolerances too, like those dovetails. So we throw it on a new plate, we assemble it, we slice, we use the slice tool. Okay, we come in here and we only print what we need. Okay, so we delete this, and look, this is all we need right now. We just need to check if it fits, right? If the dovetail fits and if it fits on the printer. It has this little lip, so we're adding some supports for that. Double check it's all good. It is. Cool. Now that all worked out. Now we need to do it on the top, because this is where the glass needs to fit on top of, right? So we do exactly the same thing. We slice it. All good. Here's what it looks like as a very dark into light time lapse. Essentially, this is what it looks like. I love that I could print this in 2 pieces on the Magneto X. That's like literally the whole reason why I bought this printer. I was so excited that I didn't have to make this a 4-piece design. I could just do it in a 2-piece. It was awesome. I'm so happy to throw away these little things. Like, every time I needed to take the glass off of the printer, it was annoying because of these 4 little corners that I'd made. But now I have this like sleek thing that just fits the glass perfectly. And then the AMS, I have these lights on it as well, but the AMS sits on top. If I need to like lift all this, I can lift it with the plastic design that I made just now, like all in one go. Oh, so much better. And because I designed it so sleek, we can slam them up against each other, almost up against each other. And they are very close together now. And that gave us just enough space, a little bit more room, to put the Magneto X into this space. Now, I always knew that I was going to be printing these hula feet, because the printer slings like he big boy. Okay, he's slinging. And they use these thrust bearings here. This is the 11 ball version. There's a 10 version they recommend. The person who designed these feet recommended the 11, so we got the 11. These are great. Okay, once fully assembled, these are great. Taking it apart was a little finicky. I printed the PET G that you're seeing here on the Bambu printers, just because I was doing the TPU stuff on the Magneto X. You see I kind of mess it up here because I push too hard, so just you'll have to clean it up if you do what I did just there. Just be sure if you're going to do this mod, it specifies that you put the flat surface upright, because there's like a channel on the other side that you typically would use, but it wants you want it to move around in all directions. You don't want the balls to stay in that ring that you would naturally normally use it in. So again, flat surface here too, so it can really move around. Now this is like the finicky part of this like little mod that I'm going to be doing this with all of my Bambu printers as well, because I guess I didn't sort of break it down what it actually is. It's like an anti-vibration type modification, and allows the printer to move, but it actually absorbs this movement so much better. Like, I know a lot of people put their printers on some rubber and then like a paving stone and stuff, but it's not quite the same. Like, there's a science behind this that I'm not smart enough to understand, but the people who designed this do. This is the most finicky part right here. There's this like this TPU flower that you're trying to get into it. Don't make my mistake of trying to put it together the wrong way, because you'll see here I tip it upside down and it all just falls out. So yeah, you kind of just have to just get lucky basically, because this ball bearing, like, it moves around really, really smooth. And that's the whole point of why I use it. So when you're putting it together like here, if it doesn't quite line up, it doesn't really want to snapshot, but you will eventually just jiggle it a little bit and get it there. It might take a couple tries, like what I just did there, where I had to take it apart and then put it back together again, but you will get it. Funnily enough, the first 3 feet that I made off camera were not as difficult as this one. I don't know why filming and it was more difficult, but here you can see how it moves on all axis. And then here's an adapter feet for the Magneto X. Now, this hula feet was the K1 version, so the Creality K1 feet, and then someone had made a little adapter for the Magneto X, and that's what goes on top of that. And then you have some TPU rubber feet on the bottom. This is what it looks like. So you can see that the printer still kind of slings around, but again, it's not really like going to move the table the same. Like, it absorbs a lot of that movement. So I was pretty impressed. After that, I wanted to get that out of the way. Now we move on to the enclosure. Now, my experience with the enclosure is there's a couple things that I will point out that was kind of annoying, because I feel like the setup unboxing guide from Peopoly for the printer itself was pretty good. There was a couple things they sort of didn't quite have updated, but it wasn't too bad. I made a video on that if you want to check it out. Link in the description, or there's like probably a little pop-up here. It wasn't too bad, but there was still a couple hiccups that I mentioned. I feel like any other guide I've seen from them, it's a little more outdated, or it just doesn't have like the information. So you'll see here, this screw right here is the one that you, think you should be using, or at least I thought I was supposed to be using. I read like all the instructions, and there's a lip right here. So the thread on it is not long enough. Funnily enough, the other screws in the bag that I had are 2 millimeters longer. So I had to use the longer screws. Now, and in the all when this was all made and all said and done, I had a ton of screws left over. I didn't miss anything. I don't get it. But I think that the longer ones were actually what I was supposed to be using, putting all of these acrylic panels on. So you'll see here in a moment, I actually had to get my own to solve the issue that I ran out of these ones with like the bigger head on them. Wasn't a huge deal, but I definitely wasn't taking apart the enclosure to retrieve these. So I think that their guide needs to be a little bit more specific, but I really like the panels. The tinted, it's a double-edged blade, because like the tinted look to it looks much more professional. You can run lights on the inside, which we will do. You'll see here that there's parts of the acrylic protection that mine had come off in transit, so I have scratches in those areas there. Not something I mind, but some people will, so I thought I'd point that out. For the most part, I think that was the only panel that was actually damaged, or quote-unquote damaged, and not brand new looking. So again, just quickly, the panels, I really, really love them, but the problem is that if you don't have lighting on the inside, and like really good lighting, which we will be doing, I have already purchased all of the stuff that will be in another video coming, It's very dark to see inside. Like you can't really see inside of it. You have to open the panels to really see what you're doing. But of course, if you have lights on the outside too, it's like really stopping a lot of that light coming in. So it's a little hard to see what you're doing inside of this printer. It's like working in a little cave. But overall, I really did not mind it. Anyway, came time to moving it, and honestly, I must have had a very good like grip around this because I did not struggle moving this. I really thought when I took it out of the box, it was, I guess, just more awkward. I thought it was like heavier than what it actually was. I didn't really find this difficult, but I was going to remove certain things off of it to like make it lighter. But of course, I needed the panels on. As you can see, like, look how close all of this is. It's so close to the wall in the back and the shelves and the bamboo. So I needed most of the acrylic panels on before I put it in. So I had to hold it totally different, but it's not too bad. You'll see here, I'm struggling to get the hula feet on in the back corner, but I eventually do, and it doesn't hit the shelf, it doesn't hit the bamboo. It looks like it, it was very close, but it doesn't. So I was like pretty impressed with that. That's really cool. Oh, don't. You didn't. That was nothing. I'm looking up the guides for the printer. So here we are with the guides. Yeah. So here's the top enclosure part. It basically just just look at the guide, follow it, put each and every piece where it needs to go. I ended up realizing that it looks a little, at least for me, it looked a little confusing. There's like this lip right here. You want that to be on the outside and pointing up. Now, the reason why it's pointing up is because you're actually putting it all together upside down, pretty much. And the acrylic panels are going to screw into that lip. Now, I will say right here, there is nothing for the corner, like that corner that you can see that I'm moving. There's nothing that screws into. This panel, all these panels are screwed in by one lip only. So I feel like if you apply enough pressure, that's going to snap. So they do, I saw in the guide, they do have some optional, I don't know what they called them. They were like optional braces, perhaps, I guess, that you can 3D print. I might do that. I thought I was maybe going to do that, but I didn't end up doing that. It wasn't too bad. I was just very careful moving it around because most of us are going to pick this up when it's up the right way. You're going to hold those plastic acrylic pieces and it's going to move and maybe break. So very difficult. Here you'll see for some reason the screw just like didn't quite work. So I had to get my shorter, that's right, it was too long. So I had to get some of my smaller ones, shorter ones. And this one right here you're seeing me screw in, this is the normal 6mm that it comes with that I used on the hinge on top. Okay, so the hinges on top are fine. But this hinge, for some reason, wasn't taking the same screw. The one below it is my shorter one. So I basically at that point went, I'm just going to use my shorter ones on all of these hinges. And it worked just fine. The holes for these knobs are tight. Okay, so you may think this is not going to fit. You have to put your thumb on there and really push, and it will go through eventually. It will, but you've really got to apply some pressure. Just understand it may feel like it's not going to fit. It may feel like it's threaded. It's not. It's just a hole. Don't like bang it or anything because you might actually crack the acrylic. But it wasn't too bad. Now there's these like connectors, like these holders, I guess, that you have to screw into the corners for the top enclosure to sit into it, like slots into it. Very easily installation. There's like these black acrylic pieces that you take off of the printer that I broke in the unboxing. If you saw the clip of that, that was not fun. The very first screw that I tightened, it just shot across the living room. So I didn't tighten anything after that, but pretty easy installation. They do give you those. So that's 3D printed. Those pieces are 3D printed, but they provide you with those. The braces I was talking about, you have to print yourself. Now you'll see right here, it might be tough to see, I'm holding it in the corners. I'm holding the metal pieces and not the acrylic, because again, it will break. It'll snap. So that's like a wrist strength thing, so you have to be very, very careful. You're probably not trying to you're not probably trying to squeeze it like I am in like the most perfect, tiny, exact depth and width of space that I am. So you might actually be able to like handle it a little bit better. But we got it on there in the end. It definitely made it. It makes the printer move a little bit different. I noticed when I was moving it around, like there's definitely like more mass kind of like flopping about like this, but wasn't too bad. All the doors work. One kind of sticks right here. This one, the left one, it like sticks. I adjusted all the hinges and it won't quite. Like I can push it, but it like snaps the other door as well. But I'm okay with it. It's not a big deal. Holds the heat in. I'm honestly I'm impressed enough that I installed it. Like I threw all the boxes out. There's no like returning this or anything. I'm excited for this printer now. Now I made a bit of a mistake here. Okay, so I'm putting this masking tape down because I'm gonna drill a hole into the acrylic. I'm drilling several pilot holes to help it not crack. I do get a little chip. It's not the worst thing in the world. But see this piece here? This is essentially a little piece I designed up where I'm converting the tubing in the printer. I think it's a 4mm outer diameter and a 2mm inner diameter is what it comes with, the tubing. I'm converting that to a 6mm outer diameter and a 4mm inner diameter. So we're basically having the inner diameter the width of the whole tubing that it comes with on the inside. So it gives it more space to move around. Someone had like done this mod to theirs and said it worked way better. And TPU was better, just like everything is better. So I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be pretty easy to do. As you can see from my space, I couldn't have the spool holder that's usually on the left-hand side. I couldn't have that there because of the shelf that it's in. So I knew I was always going to have to mount it some other way anyway. So we do the hole here. We figure out the size that we need. And I think that's right. I think I didn't get it quite right. Like I looked at it. Oh no, I was cleaning it up. That's right. I was just putting more tape on it to clean it up. So a little tip right there. If you do this, you get a bunch of crap. Just it's hard to see now because it's focusing on my hair for some reason. But just put another piece of tape down. Way better cleanup. You'll see that I put this piece in and then from the bottom screw it up. Now this works, but when I said I had made the mistake, this is why. So there's the chip, by the way. This is like the chip. I needed to make it bigger, and yeah, I think I needed to be really. I think my drill needed more battery, basically, to have more power, and just like blast through it. I think I went slower, and it just kind of like scooped it off of it and broke it off. But anyway, so this was a mistake installing it on the very center. In my mind, I was like, if I put it in the center, it'll have the least distance to travel, like the tube, which will be better. But that would be right if the printer was taller, like if there was more space above the printer and the filament sort of just came down, that would work. But the problem is that there's actually not like the enclosure that you're putting on it is like only this tall, this much more, right? This is not a lot of space. Like you're not putting a piece of tube that's this long. It's still got to go to this far back corner, right? Like the tube's still going to be really long. So I thought this was going to work, and you'll see here in a minute, I adjust what I was doing. I had to buy some different outlets and things, but I feed the filament into a 6mm tube into there, and honestly, it looked great. This is a 6mm down to a 4mm conversion. I don't even know what to call this because it took the whole Discord. We all had to like try and find this. It's fully plastic. Now it does grip the teeth inside when you push it down all the way, and you must use that blue lock. Excuse me. And then it will kind of wobble around a little bit, but it's definitely grabbed. Like you'll see here, I'm pushing it around and it's holding. So here's the 6mm tubing. We chuck it in, and the weight of the tubing is kind of bending a little bit, but I don't have any issues. I like go to feed it into it. It works just fine. I'm moving this around, and all seems quite good. I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is really not too bad. Like the tubing is going to spin around on itself. It's not the worst. I've mounted the filament in the front. Here's the tubing for the filament spool, and that feeds sort of fairly straight and across. Now the problem is when I go to feed this filament, I get to the point where it goes to the little coupler that I had drilled the hole for, and I wish I actually still had them. So it was two couplers, and there was a big long metal threaded like joiner to join them both. And unfortunately, from one coupler to the other, the inside, it was like a little, I don't know, like it had little sharp edges inside of it. So this, see here, it's not going in, it's not going through cleanly. Like I have to look, I'm looking at it in this clip, and it's like I have to thread it through a needle hole. Like I have to get it perfectly straight to go through the hole, or else if I just kind of like guide it in and push it in, it catches and it just will not go through the hole. Eventually it does here, but you'll see see how it looks like there's resistance? So this is what I had to do instead. I bought this piece, which is a one whole piece, okay? And it has these two little nuts on it that you put on either side of the acrylic. And I thought, okay, this is better. I have to drill a much bigger hole. Now I've thought about it. I thought, okay, you know what? This tube really needs to be in the back, which some other people have like modified their tubing a little bit, and Peopoly, when you do the enclosure, they do actually include these little clips for you to route the filament tubing across the back of the actual enclosure. So in my mind, I'm like, that actually makes sense anyway. So I'm going to put the hole in the far back instead. And spoiler alert, it works way better. I'm much happier that I did this. We install the thicker piece. I used the Dremel this time because I didn't want to chip. It's a cosmetic thing. I mean, really, at the end of the day, the chip didn't really do anything. It didn't matter, but I wanted to be safe that I did a better job this time. So I used the Dremel to like really make the circle bigger. And so then you put the whole thing in, and then the two nuts you screw up from either side, tighten that up. Way better, way better. So then when I start moving it around, I immediately see, okay, the tubing just looks like way more free. It gets to the middle here. Oh, maybe I don't pull it back. Yeah, right here. Like it's just way more free. It just makes so much more sense. It's not like spinning around on itself. It looks far more free. So I'm much happier with this design idea. And essentially, like I feed this through right here, and I haven't had any problems. I feed it through, and it's with that little step down 6mm to 4mm. It allows that to just guide straight in. I'm having no load and unload issues. Like I originally was having some load and unload issues where I actually had to take off that little blue clip, pull out the tubing to be able to pull out the filament. It was really annoying. But now, because of this tubing upgrade, it's just better. So my experience so far has been quite good. There is still a filament sensor and pause issue. I sometimes randomly will get a pause at the start of a print, like before it puts down its first layer, it does the purge and then it pauses and just moves the head to the side and waits. Don't know why, very strange. I have edited some things on my printer, so it could have been something that I did, but you have to do this thing to get around. There's like a pause problem that a lot of people are experiencing. Like if you put in the G code a pause, and then so you know it's printing, and then it gets to that pause, it tells itself to pause. Sometimes it won't pause and it will ignore it, and sometimes it will trigger and pause and move the head out of the way, which is cool, but then you'll come back and hit resume, and sometimes it just won't resume, so you have to stop the print. So it's like really hit or miss. They're kind of like trying to work it out. So there is this one issue that is probably the biggest glaring issue that I don't like. Apologies. And it seems to have to do with the filament sensor. Like if you have a run out, like if you're just printing a single colored print, it's really big, it's really long, and you run out of filament, this is when the filament sensor would tell the printer, pause and wait for more filament. Now you have a 50-50 chance that when you load new filament in and hit resume, that it will work or it won't. So the filament sensor, like even though there's an LED on it, when you put the filament in, it senses it and it goes green and it goes, yeah, there's filament there. It's like it's not executing the right code to tell the printer it's all good. So this weird filament sensor pausing issue is like the one and only thing. Like if we can get past that and figure that out, I'm gonna love this printer. I'm gonna tease a little screenshot here. I'm like, really, I really want to do this print. It's 720 grams with supports. But I'm very scared because I've never done a print for like so much with so much filament for so long, and risk that if something goes wrong, I just lose all of it. Like I understand that's the risk of a large printer. I just have never had a large printer, so I'm just like really scared to hit go and do it. But ever since I found this file so long ago when like Thor Ragnarok came out, I loved this model for some reason. I don't even know like really who Surtur is, and he didn't really have like a crazy role in Thor or anything, but I just think the model looks so cool and I can blow it up as big. It's probably going to be like this big from the printer. And if I print it in black, I can use like antique gold or silver rubbing compound and it would look really awesome and just like sit it on a shelf or something. But again, I'm just like, I have fear of failure, so I don't know what I'm going to do. But there you go. My experience with the Enclosure was really not that bad. It probably took me a couple of hours, I would say. I don't think I was very slow, but I, had to film and do all this sort of stuff too. So maybe you could do it in an hour. Just be very careful because the acrylic could break. But I appreciate you sticking around. If you liked this video, hit the like. It helps a ton. Subscribe because I've got so much more content coming. And see you in the next one. Peace.